Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We begin with mystic song by Sri Swami Lalitananda, played and sung by Sri Swami Umananda.
Our song is entitled Song of Invocation. It was written in 1976. I'm singing a portion of a very long song. Om Shri divine Shanti, Shanti, Today is Friday, June 1st, 2018. Swamiji continues the series on the Tulsi Ramayana. This is series 2016, class number 107. And now our revered Guru.
Om Nilambuja Shyamal Komalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panavu Maha Sayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Allusions to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side and he is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. In Balakanda of Sri Manas, that's the Ramayana, verse number is 267 onwards. Remember the setting of the storyline. Lord Rama has broken Shiva's bow, and as a result of it, in the audience there are all types of people. Good people with divine culture, and demoniac people. That describes the demons hiding as human beings. The storyline carries a different flavor. The storyline, what's described as gods came into that assembly. Nagas came, big serpents. They have to disguise, otherwise they couldn't find a seat out there. Big demons, all disguised as good-looking personalities. The storyline gives you a special flavor, but that's the reality of the world. Look at any assembly of people, all types of people are there. You don't have to look within yourself. All those things are there within you in different proportions. How you keep your ducks together, that's a different matter. But they are all there. Now, following the highly mystic story, all tried their best to lift the Shiva's bow and they didn't succeed. Rama lifted it, and not only lifted it, he broke the bow. Being an old bow, when he bent it, he broke it. All these are flavor for a story. The mystical insight behind it, that's the purpose of life. Soul is Rama. Soul of anyone is nothing, is absolutely essential nature is Rama. Until you realize that Rama am I, Rama alone exists. Until that, your purpose of life is not fulfilled. You will continue to come back into the world. Now, an ideal setting given by the Ramayana, that which leads the soul to enlightenment is not ordinary intellect, but intuitive intellect, Viveka Buddhi. And that Viveka Buddhi is Sita Devi, who is going to marry Rama. And the condition placed for that marriage is whoever breaks Shiva's bow in order to be profoundly linked to the process leading to liberation, in order to allow your soul to join Viveka Buddhi, you must come to a state of spiritual purity that in simple terms, you do not live for coming back again. You live to attain liberation. So switching your attention from the fascination for the world, that is Shiva's bow. That bow has to be broken. But not everyone can break it. Only Rama within. When you realize, when you develop that understanding, that the reality in me is the divine self. There are countless buckets of water and there are countless reflected suns. Every reflected sun is the sun. So coming back to this story, when Rama broke the bow, good ones, good people, they admired Rama, sent out their joyous praise for Rama. Their heart was filled, thrilled. Dushta people, dushta are called evil-minded people. They began to shout that this is unfair. How can a kid break a bow? Even though the bow is broken. Even if he broke it, he doesn't deserve it. We are big people. How can Janaka allow Rama to marry Sita in our presence? So they were all creating a big commotion. Now creating that big suspense, that's the storyline. More suspense is created, more eyes are stare, better is the taste for the story. Now comes Parashuram, a great incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who had a divine purpose in his personality. And he comes with a very dynamic attitude that's terrifying to the masses. So now the whole situation changes as Parashurama has entered. Now you are not looking at those wicked people or their noises, they all become calm. Just like great discussion is going on in a forest with rabbits and foxes and others. As comes a lion. Now they stop all their arguments. Now they all are in suspense. What is this going on? खर भरु देखी बिकलपुर नारी सब मिली देहि महिषन गारी. Just a minute prior to his coming, this is the seeing all people who had come together, those great, supposed to be great kings, royalties who had come to marry Sita, and how they have been created so much confusion and noise. All the royal queens and the women of the royalty who were all fascinated to see Rama having broken the bow and waiting for Sita to marry Rama. Suddenly they become all disturbed. And they started uttering abusive words for those kings, like they're ullu ke bacha, they're children of owls. I couldn't use any more abusive word. I'll give you another humorous taste of Hindi language. When there is a crowd of people making lots of disturbing noise, the word is called khar bhar. Khar is donkey. Whole colony of donkeys have come together. Can't expect any satsanga there. Now has come Parashuram, Tehi Avsar Suni Shiva Bhanu Bhanga. Having heard when Shiva's bow broke in storyline, its sound entered into all different lokas, planes of existence. He reached the ears of Parshuram, though he was far away. That Parshuram, he is called Bhrigukul Kabala Patanga. He is born in the line of Sage Bhrigu. Just to introduce that the role of Bhrigu. The mystic story that a question arose, who is the most adorable among all gods? Because there are so many gods. They create certain type of understanding who is to be the highlight, the goal, the highest ideal. Sage Bhrigu took up the task of determining who has the greatest quality, divine quality, that would impress all people and will be beneficial for all. And a simple project. Who will prove himself to be unaffected even in the condition of worst insult. Whoever succeeds in that test, he is the most adorable. This is Hindu culture. Called Nati Manita. Of all Davi qualities, absolute humility is the highlight of all qualities. That absolute humility is the general of the army of divine qualities. I've mentioned this story, but these stories can be repeated again and again. Nobody gets bored. So Bhrigu first goes to his own father, Brahma, but not as usual with his humble nature and with adorations. But he goes like a teenager who is not cultured and goes on dancing before Brahma without saluting him. I'm adding some spicing to it. Brahma suddenly perks up and looks at his kamandalu. That means to sprinkle little water to curse that person. The impertinence of Bhrigu. But Saraswati Devi stops him. Likewise, he goes to Shiva. And he does the same thing. No adorations, simply walks without bowing down. And Shiva starts staring. Parvati knows that big thing will come out, big curse or something from Shiva. Please, he's our son. Then Bhrigu goes to Lord Vishnu. And in the storyline, Lord Vishnu is sleeping comfortably in Vaikuntha world. Generally, he sleeps on the big snake, you see. But here in the storyline, he's in a different setting. And Sage Bhrigu enters. And seeing Lord Vishnu in sleep, he doesn't even try to awaken him, but strikes at his chest by his foot, kicks him. That's the worst insult you can give. All the time, Lord Vishnu was pretending to sleep. God never sleeps. And Lord Vishnu wakes up and very lovingly holds the very same feet that had struck against his chest. He says, "Oh great sage, can you ever forgive me? Your lotus feet has been hurt by my stony heart. The rock of my heart has hurt your foot. Let me see, where is the injury?" Bhrigu never imagined that. He fell at the feet of Lord Vishnu and said, "Oh Lord, what have I done?" And Vishnu said, "What you did will be remembered forever. No avatara will be authentic unless he shows he has the mark of Bhrigu's footprint in his chest." People take it literally, but simply implying that no avatara can be real avatara unless he has that humility, love for all. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, may all be happy. If that radiates from the heart, then Bhrigu's footprint is there. Similar story you have in the Bible, but not in relation to avatara, in relation to Satan. You have to have 666 written on the head. That's allegorical. 6 impurities operating through thought, word, and action. 3 times. 666. If that is there in your head, you are satanic. So I've led you into big distraction. So that was the Bhrigu. And Parshuram comes in his line, in his lineage. The story of Parshuram, his storyline is not easy to understand. But to give you just a subtle meaning behind it, he's an avatars, there are different expressions of divine steps. Just to give you a general idea, there are 24 avatars. Out of them, 10 avatars are very important in Hindu culture. First avatara is fish. Fish relates to insight. Second avatara is kurma, tortoise. Tortoise refers to the ability to keep the senses withdrawn by the mind. That stage. Next avatara is called Varaha. Varaha is hog incarnation, a storyline. The earth, the entire earth goes into big ocean, deep down, and the hog incarnation goes deep, lifts up the earth. So it is that type of mystic power that digs into the unconscious with a hog-like precision. Hogs do very good things sometimes. And then the next avatara is Narasingha, man-lion. That relates to Prahlad, devotee. Next avatara is Vaman avatara, dwarf. God appears in the form of a humble Brahmin. Since I have mentioned them before, I am just moving fast. And now Parashuram avatara, his role is to work upon the rajas, distractions of your mind. When tamas is removed or controlled, rajas develops. So much energy is there in your mind. And if the energies are not being controlled, then you are described as unruly kshatriyas. And those energies, those distracted rajasic energy, Parashuram's incarnation was to cut them down. There is a story behind it. Why? Everything has a story. Parashuram is the son of Jamadagni, and his wife is Renuka. Once a great king, Sahasrabahu, he is a king with 1,000 arms. He is a devotee of Dattatreya, and instead of asking for devotion and spiritual movement, he asked for power, and he got lots of power. He is also known as Kartavirya Arjuna, just giving some information. So that king happened to pass by the ashram of Jamadagni, father of Parshuram. And the father invited the king and all his people, a whole bunch of soldiers. And the king was curious. How will they give hospitality to us in this poor setting? But then Jamadagni had they had a mystic cow, Kamadhenu. And that Kamadhenu produced all things needed beyond their expectation. And they were so welcomed, ate, and they were so happy. But the end result was Sahasrabahu said, that cow has to be with me in the royalty. What will you do? Your little ashram. Give me, and that will help so many people. Jamadagni, that led to, I'm cutting the story short, Sahasrabahu cut off the head of Jamadagni, father of Parshuram. And Parshuram in turn, to revenge upon what has happened, he killed Sahasrabahu, and he went on killing his generations. The storyline, that simple meaning is a movement that goes on killing. Rajasic forces that are not in tune with your righteous movement. Now coming back to the present situation, Parshuram, same Parshuram, has come. The role of Parshuram in your personality is allowing your karmas to become sattvic. And in order to do so, rajas in you has to be controlled. As long as you are bonded with karma, you do not sublimate your rajas absolutely. Rajas is stage. So, Kshatriyas are killed and they come back again and again. Rajas is you go on controlling it, but it rises again and again. But that's the role of Parshuram. In sadhana movement, your stage is to develop good karmas, and that's perfectly in order. But don't stay with good karmas. You have to move into another stage where all karmas are going to move away, called from pravritti to nivritti. And that movement is the difference between Parshuram and Ram. Parshuram is in one stage. Kindergarten is one stage. But staying in kindergarten, that's bad stage. Now I will get into the storyline. मन पछिताति सिय महतारी, विधि अब संवरी बात विगारी. Mother of Sita began to feel great frustration in her heart. The things were coming so wonderful. Sita was going to marry Rama, put garland on his neck. And now, all that was going to be in a very joyous way. The lotus was blooming in a joyous way, and suddenly a frost jumps upon it. That's bad. Similarly, suddenly Parshuram comes, a frustrating situation. Bhrigupati kara subhau suni Sita, ardhanimesha kalap samabita. And in the storyline, Sita, knowing the nature of Parshuram, being separated from Rama, even half a moment appeared like a whole kalpa. Kalpa is the whole duration of the universe. Why this type of simile? There is always meaning behind it. Meaning is, for Viveka Buddhi is leading you to realization where time doesn't exist. All time, space, the entire universe is illusion. That's the goal, that's the purpose of Viveka Buddhi, intuitive knowledge joining with the soul. And Parshurama level disturbs that movement. To stay focused on doing good karmas and removing bad karmas, to stay only in that stage, that puts you in the world where you flow along with universal time and there's no end to it. So compared to this time illusion, Sita's expectation, if you match them up, then you understand this simile. That half a moment of her patience appeared like she has passed through half a kalpa. In a simple way to understand. Sometimes when you are in suspense, you describe in a certain literature that half an hour I waited and it seemed to me like 24 hours. सभय विलोके लोग सब जानी जानकी भीरु हृदय न हर्ष विषाद कछु बोले श्री रघुबीरु. Okay, little suspense for you. Lord Rama, breaking this suspense created by Parshuram, seeing all people awed by Parshuram's presence, and seeing Sita under deep distress and suspense. And in his own heart, there is neither joy nor sorrow. That's a big defect, being Brahman. Nothing happens. You are out of happenings. I'm joking. That's the state of perfection. As long as you are looking for joy and sorrow, you are swinging. And nothing is permanent. No matter how joyous, prosperous situation you have, it is not permanent. Mm-hmm. Who will tell you? Your own heart will tell you. Because your own heart is not secure. How can you secure things of this world? So, Rama stage is when a mind does not go after, is not swayed by pain or by pleasure, joy and sorrow, and the mind remains balanced. You have nothing to lose, no matter how terrible situations you are surrounded by. This is a big statement, you see, but you have to digest it gradually, slowly. Because deep down, your reality is the self. That self you are not going to lose. Body will lose. Objects you will lose. Friends and foes you will lose. But the self you can't lose. Because that's your essential nature. A reflected sun will lose everything. But its reality, the sun will not be lost. Pots will be lost. Waters will be lost, and so forth. So Rama presents that state, unaffected by neither pleasure nor pain. And that Rama tells, Nath sambudhanu bhanjani hara, hoihi keu ek das tumhara. O Lord, is a respectful way, O great sage. He who has broken the Shiva's bow must be your servant, your devotee. Here again, he keeps it in riddle. He doesn't say, I broke it. This story will stop. He gives him a riddle that whoever has broken it must be your great servant. Because, coming again to philosophy line, the role of controlling rajas is ultimately complemented by movement towards attaining enlightenment, not just creating good karmas. Parshuram's role is to present good karmas. Rama's role, move away from all. But in order to move away from all, you must align yourself in good karma. So Parshuram's role is absolutely necessary. And in order to align yourself with good karma, rajas has to be broken down, cut down again and again. So put all this in line, then you are putting your ducks together. So therefore, whoever broke the Shiva's bow has actually fulfilled Parshurama's job of opening a higher level. That's what Rama says. But at this stage, Parshuram his in the storyline, Parshuram's role now is to bring out the glory of Rama. If he suddenly were to say, oh yes, Rama, you are Rama, people will not, and even listeners, and you will not be benefited much. So now a whole story starts. Parshuram says, सेवक सो जो करे सेवकाई, अरि करनी करी करिए लड़ाई. Servant is one who serves the master. But the one who has broken the bow, that bow was Shiva's bow, and I am Shiva's devotee. Whoever broke the bow, he is my enemy. What's the subtlety behind it? Anyone who wants to say, I am the first class first, you would do that in the university. The professors will wait. Come into the examination. Appear in examination. And prove that you are great. Until then, no. So Parshuram doing the same thing. Rama, how dare you say, I have broken the bow. Whoever says, I have broken the bow, he is my terrible enemy, like that demoniac king with 1,000 arms, Sahasrabahu. Simple message behind it, that one who is not qualified with his spiritual qualities cannot break the bow. And whoever says he broke it has to understand that point, that his ego is there behind it. And that ego is inflated ego and needs to be handled. So bilgau vila bihai samaja, nata mahare jai hahi sab raja. Bring that culprit who has broken the Shiva's bow. Separate him out from this whole assembly of people. Otherwise, I will kill them all. Find the culprit, then that's okay. But if you don't bring the culprit out, I will kill all of them. This is storyline, you see. Story has its own flavor. Suni muni bachan lakhana muskane, bole pas paras dharahi apamane. And all this is a form of presenting trial, test, to prove the person who has broken it deserves. And this whole setting is kind of an examination type of setting. And Lakshmana, who is willpower, now brings out clarification about it, gives insight into the whole situation. The will that is aligned with Rama, Lakshmana, who is constantly devoted to Rama, and he is the embodiment of practice of meditation, is constantly focused on Rama. That type of will doesn't look at this challenge of breaking Shiva's bow as anything wrong. It's perfectly in order. But Parshuram is pointing to those who are not ready, and they have brought in their mind the illusion that they have broken the bow, just like many people develop the illusion that they have awakened Kundalini. 12 years ago, they drank the nectar coming from the Sahasrara. And they didn't go viral. Something wrong. So that type of mind has to be challenged. Lakshmana brings out now that type of expression of strength. Strength that looks at ordinary strength as very little. You attain something good, great, by your good karma. From Lakshmana's point of view, what you have attained is little. From Vedic point of view, all attainments in this world is called alpam, little. You have gathered lot of lot of what call those little shining creatures, glowworms. While your goal is to attain the sun. You can't confuse, no matter how millions of glowworms can't put together equally and can match up with the sun. So that type of mind is Lakshmana. Parshuram is trying to show what type of mind breaks Shiva's bow. And Lakshmana is bringing it out in a situation that creates a kind of drama for the masses. There is a divine art behind all this writing. So whether you understand it or not, the story settles in your mind. And gradually, if it has settled, it will work in time. Suni muni bachana lakhana musakane. All this horrible thing with big face in a turmoil, eyebrows going this way and that way. And he has holding a big axe in his hand. And there Lakshmana stands, smiling face, not horrified, not startled, smiling. As if insulting Parshuram. And he says, Bahudhanu hi tori larikai, kabahuna asirisad kin gosai. Oh sage, I have broken so many bows, even when I was a kid. I never met with anybody so with terrified face, so angry. Nobody became angry. The more I break, people are more amused. You should be happy to see an old bow broken. यही धनु पर ममता के ही हेतु सुनि रिसाई कह भृगुकुल केतु. Why is this attachment to this old bow for a sage like you? Now Parshuramji, that whipped up his anger. And he said, Re nipa balak kalabas, bolata tohina sabhar, dhanu hi samatripurari dhanu, vidita sakala sansar. O son of a king, you are under the influence of death. You are ready to die because you are not speaking words with a rational mind. This bow, is this bow like your kids' bows? How dare you compare Shiva's bow with the ordinary bows you are talking about? लखन कहाँ हंसी हमरे जाना, सुनहु देव सब धनुष समाना. And Lakshmana laughed and said, O Lord, from my point of view, all bows are just the same. A mind that is dedicated to God, all challenges are just the same because God works through you. For you, challenges may be little, big, intense. For God, they are just the same. Figure that out. And Lakshmana is talking about that type of strength that is in tune with Rama. For that strength, all challenges in allegorically described like a bows presented to you, and you have broken so many bows. With Rama within, they are all easy to break. And while saying that, he also now points out who really broke the bow. Chuata toot dragupati hina dosu, munibinu kaja kariye katarosu. Rama, pointing to his brother Rama, he simply touched it and it broke. How can you blame him for the breaking of this old bow? Bole chitai parasuki ora, re sat sunehu subhau namora. Now Parshuram looked at his bow, rather his axe, and said, You dull-wit, wicked, you have not introduced to my nature. Let me tell you my identity. बालक बोली बधाऊं तहीं नहीं तो ही, केवल मुनि जड़ जाने ही मोही. Considering you to be a young kid, I'm not killing you, but you, foolish one, don't you know I am Bal Brahmachari, absolute Brahmacharya from the very childhood. And I am the enemy of Kshatriya race. That's the Raj, which I have already pointed out, the Rajasic forces. And I'm well known all over the world. Bhujabala bhumi bhupa binu kinhi vipula bara mahi deva nadinhi. Again and again I have rid the earth of these Rajasic kings and gave away all their wealth to the Brahmins, implying he has controlled Rajas and allowed Sattva to prosper. Sahasa bahu bhuja cheda nihara parasubiloku mahipa kumara. And look at my axe. With this axe, I have cut down 1,000 arms of that Sahasra bahu and destroyed him. Matu pitta hi jani socha bas karasi mahish kasor garabhan ke arbhak dalan parasumora ati ghor. Oh, royal boy, do not put your parents in grief. This axe is terrible, is the destroyer of all. And we have to hold off. We are going slowly in this story. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamam Ritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramaya Namah. Om Namah Shivaya.
If you have any questions for Swamiji, please raise your hand and we'll bring you the mic.
Swamiji, I was wondering what the symbolism is for Lord Brahma being depicted as 3 bodies. I've seen like a frontal view, and then he's to the left, then he's to the right. Thank you.
You are talking about Brahma. That much depends upon the artist who is trying to present Brahma. But the scriptural picture of Brahma is he has 4 heads. 4 heads implying all 4 directions, which imply all directions are condensed into 4 directions. Up, down, back, forth, symbolic. So he has 4 heads.
Oh, I didn't see the one behind.
Yeah, because that's what you
I've got one more question.
Yeah.
Who was Sita a reincarnation of?
In a storyline, she is reincarnation of Lakshmi Devi, Vishnu's consort. But in real, profounder way, she is Viveka Buddhi, intuitive intellect. It is Viveka Buddhi that leads the divine Rama within you to destroy ignorance. So all the fight with demons, etc., is movement towards cutting down impurities, distractions, the veil of ignorance. That's all described in the form of so many events in Rama, how he counteracts demons in different levels, until they all both join together, Rama and Sita, and Ramayana story ends in Tulsi Ramayana.
Thank you.
Om Tat Sat Swamiji. Can you speak more about humility, which you said was the highest of the divine qualities, and how to attain it? I think in the West, humility is a lot of times associated with like a low opinion or low like unworthiness, which I don't think is what you mean.
No, you have to always understand, humility when we speak of is not that humiliates you, but that which makes you proud of yourself. When you discover you can remedy, you can overcome anger by love, then you discover your real strength. Ego-based strength is pride, conceit. Humility term is contrary to that. Loving personality is humble. A child looks at the mother, and mother is always humble. Nothing to be humiliated about it.
That's that, Swamiji.
That's all.
So the question is kind of based along the same lines of humility and other virtuous qualities, is when one starts to practice these, there's a sort of knowing that I'm doing something virtuous, and so can come across, or it feels maybe like I'm contriving it, right? Like I'm, so you get caught, sometimes the mind gets caught up in that, am I really being humble, or I'm being humble because I know it's a good thing to do? So how to handle that expertly?
First, to understand, you are never alone. God is also with you. So when you develop error, God is there to catch your ears and pinch it. Try to understand the point. Whenever error develops in an aspirant's life, nature doesn't really tolerate it. There is a time when it begins to come out from its sleep like Kumbhakarna. Shows its demoniac nature. Any error, even in your physical body, if you contain something negative, disease, germs, there is vitality within you, planning to kill them. And that's divinely ordained. But then again, the answer is yes, always keep your mind open. So just don't listen to your ego. Understand, ego also can be seen in as if ego is an object, in a vertical way. How is my ego? Just like how is my head? So the more you have that type of understanding, you avert that, you negate that error to happen. But if you don't, and even behind that, you must realize God is inspiring you. Your good karma helps you not to go too deep into your error, but to go just pinching point. Just few thorns, and you correct your movement. But if you don't have good association, then there comes a movement that becomes a demonia. And how are the demons? How do they fare in the world?
Hari Om Swamiji. In the Bhrigu story you just now told, after Sage Bhrigu testing Brahma and Shiva, finally Vishnu is the greatest. But we have similar stories like that in terms of seeing who's the God of God. You know, in one of the stories there, you know, trying to search the bottom and the top of Lord Shiva, says Lord Shiva is the you know, God of God. So it's kind of confusion for me that in some stories we heard Lord Vishnu, some story we heard Lord Shiva, and then eventually we said Brahman is everything. Sorry for my confusion. I just
But try to understand that. First point, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are one and the same. So when you are highlighting Vishnu as humility, you are highlighting Brahman with that aspect of humility. So we'll see in Hindu culture, when any deity is highlighted, then all other deities join and bow down. When Rama is highlighted, then Brahma, Vishnu, and all come down and bow down to him. When Shiva is highlighted, then all Vishnu and etc. bow down to him. So it should not create confusion, because they are not different personalities, one and the same. But when you highlight a particular quality, then you say Vishnu. When you highlight another quality, you say, oh, that's Shiva. Highlight another quality of creation, Brahma. And they are the same as Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga. There is no difference between all this. Same Brahman is father aspect, mother aspect. When whatever aspect was highlighted, all others are involved. It's just like your many near and dear ones have taken your picture in different poses. Someone put a sari on you, I put a feminine picture of you. You are not sorry for it. I'm joking. But the idea is they can choose any one of those pictures to be their favorite. So you go into one person's house, you will see yourself being respected in a particular pose. In another place, you see totally different pose. One was sitting, another is standing. Another was in a headstand. You have no contradiction about it. It's okay. God is same, can be worshipped in so many ways. But come down to a lesser level, if you have many sons and they have chosen different poses, then each son is attached to his pose that he has been. He goes to another, his big brother says, why did you choose that one? I have chosen a better one than you. When we go away, I'm going to break yours. See the different levels of mind. So the mind that constantly works upon I chose Saraswati Devi. She kept me poor. I should have chosen Lakshmi Devi. That stage of mind is kindergarten. But you must be surprised. People continue to hold on to that concept, but it requires good satsanga, good sadhana to break that concept. You are not dealing with many gods. And the gods are not like human beings. All these stories bring out like human language. The Bhrigu goes and Shiva begins to curse him and all that. But these are stories, not real happenings. These are all allegorical parables. Okay? At the same time, human psychology, your psychology should not be disturbed if you have adopted a system of sadhana. First to worship Ganesha, then to worship Saraswati, worship Guru. You follow all that. But deeper level you must understand, same God is being worshipped in all. You are drawing the same nutrition from the food, but you have your choice whether you want cauliflower, carrot, or Brussels sprout. But the nutrition that comes is the same. Yes.
Swamiji, according to what you said, then Hinduism is also monotheistic religion.
There's no question about it.
No question.
No religion can be other than that. But at the same time, all people are not in that state. So no matter whatever religion people may follow, under that religion, there are always many sects, contradictory. Christianity has many, Protestant, Catholic, and all that. Hinduism has many. But always the higher teaching is, truth is the same, but it can be presented in different ways to match different minds. Just like even ordinary things like mathematics. And you have children in different stages. You don't teach the same mathematics to kid of 3 years. The infinity plus infinity is infinity. Though you teach different things, to match different minds, the reality remains the same.